Folks, now for the reason to be here. Secretary Granholm, no one's more enthusiastic about building our clean energy future than you are. And I got so many friends here today. Pennsylvania delegation, Josh Shapiro, the governor, Mayor Kennedy is an old friend, one of my closest friends in the Senate and in politics, Bobby Casey. Representative Brendan Boyle is always there. And I have Governor John Carney from Delaware and Tom Carper, two of the best people I've ever worked with. And New Jersey delegation, Donald Norcross. I kid Donald all the time.
Republicans decide to block this stimulus check. That means we won't be getting any stimulus payment if President Biden can't get this past the Republicans. But hopefully everybody he can, because President Biden can definitely send out stimulus checks if he's done it before. Now, the nearly 1.9 million borrowers who paid off their loans during the pause and those who refinanced their student loans during the pause into private loans do not qualify for the automatic stimulus check. Yes, people are getting automatic stimulus checks because in August, Biden extended the pause on repayment, interest, and collections, which began back in March 2020. And according to the Office of Federal Student Aid, about 9 million federal student loan borrowers have made at least one check and one payment to April 20 to March 2022 of this year. So the application for loan forgiveness will become available in October, next month. Borrowers are expected to advise and apply before November 15th in order to receive a check before the end of the year. And we all know how important it is for people to receive the stimulus check. So hopefully President Biden can do something about this and help out the American people. Guys, it is here. President Biden can finally do something for the American people that's valuable, and that's sending out stimulus checks before the end of the year. A stimulus check of $2,000 or even $1,400 has to be approved by December of 2022 if President Biden has any hope of making the American people happy. Now everybody, the whole goal of this channel is to provide you with the most up-to-date, reliable stimulus check information from anything on stimulus aid, relief assistance, low-income benefits, Social Security benefits, and as well as stimulus check news. I'll always
take this opportunity to wish everybody a very happy holiday season and a wonderful new year. And what I wanted to discuss very briefly with you is the fact that I will soon be assuming the chairmanship of the U.S. Senate's Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, one of the most important committees in the Congress. And as I move into that position, which has very broad jurisdiction over many of the major issues facing our country, let me tell you what's on my mind and what kind of committee I would like to lead. And I also want, at this moment, to ask for your help, because in the final analysis, as I think most of you know, real change never comes from the top on down, not from Washington to the rest of the country. It always comes from the bottom on up, when millions of people at the grassroots level stand up and fight for what they need. But let me say a few words now about some of the issues that we will be dealing with. And let me start off with our dysfunctional...
Good news, everybody. So if you want the most up-to-date, reliable stimulus check information and the latest news on any sort of stimulus payments, you want to be sure to continue watching this video. There's a ton of information that you might not have known, because every day I spend hours and hours compiling information on the latest stimulus news. And as I can say without a doubt, there's a ton of information, that there is a ton of news to talk about. So let's get straight into it. Millions of Americans will soon receive financial relief in the form of direct payments. That's for a total of $3,000. High inflation does continue to challenge the United States. So by the end of this month, most Alaska residents should have another $3,000.
This dinner gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Thanks for inviting me. Please have a seat if you have one. If you don't, come on up with me. Adriano, thanks for that introduction. Thank you to Nanette and the 42 members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, a record number. Thanks also to the members of my cabinet who are here tonight, the most diverse cabinet in American history, including Secretary Broussard, Mr. Secretary, Secretary Cardona. We're doing all this while reducing the deficit. I love our friends on the right talk about, mega guys, about reducing the deficit. Give me a break. On my watch, deficits have already fallen over $1 trillion. And I signed legislation to reduce the deficit by another $1 trillion in the next decade. The last guy had a $400 billion deficit over 4 years. We're doing it by making the wealthy and big corporations begin to start to pay their fair share. Anybody out here think the tax system is fair? Raise your hand. Well, we have about 1,000 billionaires in America. You know what the average rate, the average rate that they pay for federal taxes? 8% in federal income taxes. 8. That's less than a firefighter or a teacher. It's wrong. And I'm proposing a billionaire minimum.
Now, what we're also going to say is that all the programs have represent the largest modern U.S. experiment in unrestricted cash payments, with more than 12,000 Californians expected to receive more than $180 million in public and private funds. Nowhere else have so many guaranteed income pilot programs launched at the same place. Keep that in mind, folks, because a new advocacy group actually doesn't want to let Republican lawmakers who oppose student loan forgiveness off of the hook. This Thursday, a nonprofit called Protect the Borrowers Action released an ad that criticized 13 Republicans and who voted back-to-back student debt relief. At the end of June this month and next month as well for August, the Supreme Court has struck down Biden's plan to cancel up to $20,000 in student debt for the federal borrowers. It came after both the House and the Senate passed a bill to take back Biden's debt relief that the president ultimately vetoed. So while Biden has announced a new plan to get borrowers relief during a different law, it's called the Higher Education Act, many Republican lawmakers don't even want to actually be carried on this. Biden acknowledged that delivering relief through the Higher Education Act will take some time because it requires the policy to go through a negotiated rulemaking process, which includes hearings and public commitment. Still, payments are scheduled to resume in October, but still, with interest accruing again in September. And while the Education Department announced a 12-month ramp on payments after the repayment starts, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is worried. Folks, more and more checks are expected to arrive for the Americans throughout the summer and fall. Lawmakers are agreeing to provide the low income with extra financial relief, and relief may either be in the form of a one-time check or direct deposit. But now, 2 rebate checks are going to be for tax policies. These checks are typically sent out after individuals file their annual tax returns and determine to be eligible for a refund or credit. The specific eligibility criteria for tax rebates is depending on tax lawmakers and regulations in the country. A large number of states have announced they will be mailing and depositing relief checks for many residents. During the recently wrapped legislative sessions, the lawmakers agreed to send tax rebates to people in Minnesota. And now the rebates are $260 for individuals with AGIs very high, but $520 for couples who file jointly. People within those limits will get an additional $260 per dependent for up to 3 people they can claim. Rebates are expected to go out via direct deposit, and checks starting this fall too. It's important to note that the lawmakers and taxpayers who have to apply for these payments are going to get good money.